Hello everyone, welcome to another build guide. Today we're gonna be covering Detonating Arrow. Detonating Arrow is a really high DPS build, really good single target, really good AoE, but it's pretty tricky to use on this version of the build that I'm running. This build is really strong. I have pushed more than 400 waves with it. I'll link in the description my latest push with the character. That I think we cleared 430 or something like that. The build can obviously go higher since I died by a player mistake, but it is a really strong build that requires quite a bit of player skill. One of the tricky parts about this build is that we're utilizing these nodes right here in combination with rapid detonation and sucker punch. What this makes is, like, you can see, like, if I throw an arrow into the dummy and it explodes, it's hitting for like 42,000, right? But you will see if I do two arrows in a row, the damage will go way higher. Let's see if it actually crits. You can see it hit for 120. And if you apply all of your debuffs and all your crit chance while applying your shock with your flurry, you can get some really nasty damages. You can see there the 300k, 180k, etc. Again, if you have best in slot gear with this bad boy, my gear is now a bit outdated because of the recent patch that hit. But if you get all the new, like, blessings, etc., you can hit the dummy for 500,000. You can see 230k, like, really easy. The trick part about this build is that you have to hit the same enemy twice with the arrows. So if you have like a couple group of enemies, you will need to make sure that you hit the arrow into the same guy, so it creates this, like, big explosion that it will do huge AoE and huge damage. So it is quite tricky to play. But again, if you see it in action on the build guide, you would see the damage that I'm talking about. You'll see the crazy AoE that you have, because this explosion is actually way bigger than what it shows. The thread mills cover basically the entire screen, and it just overall does pretty crazy damage. You can see the DPS tooltip there going pretty high. And again, this is not counting some of the procs, shock, lightning shred, etc. This build utilizes a flurry as a mana generator and an ailment applicator. Even though flurry has a 60% effectiveness to the ailments that it applies, it's still really handy. You can see, like, how when you hit the dummy, you're applying, like, the crit vulnerability, the shock chance, etc. You can see how your damage keeps going up and up just because of the shock. So, you know, the idea is, like, where you're, like, using your detonating arrows, like, 2 at a time, basically. You generate, you can see how you generate your mana back with flurry. And not only that, but it also generates your elemental arrows that then you use to do extra damage. So that's kind of like the flow of the build. Again, for flurry, you want to make sure that if you're out of mana with flurry, and you just stand still auto-attacking, you can see the mana goes quite fast. But what you want to do with flurry is you want to cancel flurry. Flurry does, like, it's like a 3 combo attack, but you can cancel the third one. So you can see if you cancel it, you will generate mana way faster. Like this, basically. Obviously, this is quite a high APM build and playstyle. So if you're not really fast with your fingers, you might not succeed as much, and you might struggle a bit more with mana. But that's one of the reasons why we're running Orient Sai, just because you can run, like, up to 150 mana on this bad boy. So that helps a lot with just having a bit more range into when to use your abilities. Again, into the combo, again, flurry, we're literally just using it for mana and to apply ailments. We are also doing crit. So we also do a bit of damage with flurry. It's not our main source of damage, but it will do some damage. And again, the more attack speed, the more mana we get. So we just build all the attack speed, all the crit, just to be, like, basically a machine gun. Decoy, just for survivability. We also get a bit of crit multiplier when it explodes. You can either go for the chill chance or the shred. The frailty is also pretty nice, and again, you want 2 charges, so you make sure that, you know, on the scary situations you can use decoy, boom, 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 use your detonating arrows, and you know the drill. Again, you can see, if you watch the arena push that I'll link in the description, you will see exactly how to play the build at the highest level. For detonating arrow, like we mentioned, we're synergizing Sucker Punch with rapid detonation. Basically what this does is that, again, you have this arrow and normally it will take like a few seconds to explode, right? But if you do it twice, it insta-explodes. And it will apply, the first arrow is the one that insta-explodes, and it will benefit from the Beast Layer arrow. You know, you would get quite a bit of damage for the explosion hit damage per second. That's why you get like the massive burst. We also have the Threadmills, Tendrils, or whatever they're called, for AoE, just clearing trash. These also apply shock, slow, chill, etc. So they're really, really good for controlling the battlefield and the arena. And again, just some attack speed, some shock, etc. If you had the +2 to skills, I would probably go for giving a bit of extra shock chance to my tendrils, or I would go for a bit extra area on the detonating arrow. You could also go for the penetration, but again, you're gonna have so much shock and so much lining res that I think, to be honest, it's like overkill. For shift, you want your jaded arrows. Every time you shift, you get jaded arrows and you get more crit chance and more crit multi. So it's basically like a really, really nice boost of damage. And again, the playstyle is kind of kitey, like I said. You know, you want to dash, use your things, you dash again, right? You use your decoy, you're always like basically kind of like comboing this thing. You could decide to put more points into this for velocity, for the extra damage after you do dash. You could not take velocity and go more into elusive. It's kind of like your choice, honestly. But that's how I'm running it. I think it's like a good balance of offense with a bit of defense. You can see my dodge chance when I dash goes up quite a bit, so really nice. And then to finish it off, we have Smoke Bomb. Really, really nice ability. We have it so it generates a Silver Shroud when we use it. You can see right now we get a Silver Shroud. This is like a guaranteed dodge. And this is really nice, you know, because if you get hit by something really big from a distance that you didn't see, this might save your ass, basically. Again, it refreshes every time, right? So if you're like running around, you have the Silver Shroud, you're doing your combo, blah, 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 right? And then when it's about to run out, you can basically just like run it again. So you will basically always have one Silver Shroud stack up, or, you know, protecting you against those scary one-shots that you might not see off screen or whatever, like an eagle or something like that. For my setup, the hardest thing about this build is to get your crit chance up, because unlike multi-shot, Detonating Arrow doesn't really have viable options to get crit chance. Like, this is not really good. Whereas multi-shot is giving you 300% increase rate on the tree. So having the crit chance from Shadowhunter is really, really nice. You can see like my bow crit chance right now, it says it's 44, right? And if I smoke screen, we're gonna be at 93. So obviously, when you're on smoke screen, you're basically critting all the freaking time. And then I like the backflip, because when you're kiting in arena, you know, it's really handy to create distance. The smoke screen also slows, but if you don't like the backflip, you don't have to use it. You know, you could go for whatever you want, really. You could go for a bigger radius, more Silver Shroud stacks, maybe get some Dash Shroud for Glancing Blow if you want to play it more static. That's kind of like what you would run. For the passives and the blessings, it is also pretty straightforward. You want to get all the attack speed you can to generate mana. Obviously, physical damage gets converted to lightning damage for Detonating Arrow, if you didn't know. All added bow damage is converted to lightning damage for this ability. So getting physical damage is actually adding lightning damage, and you will see what that is important. Again, damage taken while moving, haste on... you basically always get this on Marksman, Blade Dancer anyway. Obviously, we want the crit chance when using a bow. We want our mana generator, and this is where it starts getting interesting. I'm giving extra mana cost to my Detonating Arrow. So right now my Detonating Arrow is costing quite a bit of mana with these nodes and these nodes too. But it's also making it hit like a truck. So you will see, like right now it says it's 14 mana, but it's costing quite a bit. But we also generate a lot thanks to this. You can see, like, you know, you can basically have a flow of just consuming that we talked about. That is really, if you're hitting your target, your marks, it is really sustainable. This will give you a shit ton of damage, like, because it's 10% multiplicative with everything else, and it's just 1 point. It will make the build harder to play and harder to sustain, and it's really worth it. Don't take this point until you have taken all of these points. This is like this is something you would take like when the build is already kind of like set up. And fourth marksman, pretty straightforward, more attack speed. We want the, again, fire damage with elemental arrows and lightning damage. The fire damage will get converted to lightning, as we mentioned. So this is basically like 30 something, like a flat damage for our bow attack. Really insane. Same for this, another 30 flat damage that it gets converted to lightning. Really insane damage. And we only want to spend it. We don't want to spend our elemental arrows with flurry, right? So we're taking that point, this point over here. So we only spend the arrows when we use detonating arrow. Also, we're gonna get, you will see on the gear planner, or some of elemental resistances are not gonna be capped. The reason is because, well, if you're playing the build properly, you will see I'm at 6 stacks. You wanna always be like around 6 stacks, like if you know how to play like this. You can see like you. So you will get this extra like 18% protections basically from the Siege Quiver. So keep that in mind when you're playing. If you don't feel like you're gonna be able to sustain this number like above 4, you probably want to craft some extra elemental resistance on your gear. You know, maybe change one of the silver rings for a gold ring or something like that. Going back into the passives, concentration is a bit optional. Again, if you feel like you're not really good at juking or kiting, etc., you might want to change concentration and just put it into dexterity, which will give you damage, not as much damage, but concentration is depending on your playstyle. I like it because I don't get hit that much. If you get hit at high arena waves, you're gonna die regardless, so concentration is, in my opinion, pretty worth it. Again, you want the crit chance, the bow damage, and then obviously the crit avoidance that we will cap with the crit avoidance blessing on Reign of Dragons. This plus the blessing is basically crit avoidance cap, so it's really handy because it opens out a lot of suffixes for, you know, extra dodge, extra endurance, etc. Again, a single stack of a single point here just to get an extra silver shroud stack, which is a guaranteed dodge, really nice. The crit chance and the crit multi, really important. And then some sharpshooter. You know, we're gonna be hitting a lot, so I don't think you need to max it. Get a bit of shred. Shred not that important, since armor shred mainly affects how much physical damage you do. Since the last patch, armor is more effective and armor shred is more effective versus physical damage. So it's not that important to get armor shred in this build. But, you know, getting the 1 point, why not? It might help against bosses, you know, it's just 1 point. And again, you know, you want all the detonating arrow area, like the mana cost for the increased damage, and the mana generating stuff. And that's about it. When it comes to gearing, I will link a proper gear planner that is updated on the description of the video. The most important thing for this build is your bow and your quiver. You want to get the crit multi quiver with the crit multi bow. It's really important that you get a 4% bow, right? Don't get a 3%. My bow is really insane, as you can see. It's not a tier 20, but you don't really care that much about the suffixes. It's really important that you get the bow fire damage and the bow physical damage, because again, those both get converted to lightning damage on. So you will do so much damage. Same for the quiver. You just want all the added damages. And you know, for your idols, you want stuff like this. Increase bow elemental damage, because obviously we're doing bow elemental damage with bow critical extractions. If you manage to get 4 of these well rolled, you can see I have mines are decent, but you know, this one doesn't have a useful suffix. This suffix can be also useful. Chance to slow on bow hit if you don't get the crit chance, so look up for it. But if you get 4 of these, like, your DPS will go like to the moon. Also, if you get like some exalted, like an exalted bow or something like that, your damage will go to the moon. And right now, like, I don't have the newest relic because this character is from last patch, but you want to get ancient coins as the your base for your relic, because it will come with 100% increased critical strike chance. So obviously, like this number will go quite up just for changing the base of the relic. Again, Orion's Eye makes the build easier to gear since you don't need to gear for void resistance, right? Since it covers. And again, the biggest threats of this build are the necrotic homing stuff that you can just shift to immune. You know, when the birds or the immortalized throw shit at you, you can just like make sure that you shift so you don't get hit. And the other biggest threat for this build are the eagles that throw elemental snowballs at you, which is fire damage, and everything homing that is void. Void infused bears, void horrors, all of those enemies are really scary. So keep in mind that Orion's Eye gives you less damage taken, less fire damage taken, and since void is getting converted to fire, you can get up to 15% damage mitigation on all void and all fire if you roll 15% Orion's Eye that I have. I have it on other character, so this one is just using a shitty one. So keep that in mind. When you're making your builds, you need to make sure that you analyze what are the threats and what do you need to build against. That's the reason why in this build you're not gonna really build poison resistance, because again, your range, and you can just kite, you can just run, you can just kite poison enemies. A poison enemy should never hit you or should never put you in danger with this build, and that's why you can ignore it. Again, you will have the full list of blessings, the gear and everything on the description, so you can see what the fully potential of this build is. And you will have a video of a 400 arena run to see the build in action when I'm actually warmed up and playing it like at really, really high level with the current gear that I was using. Like nothing changed, it's just like the same gear, so you can see the potential. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Bye bye.